All right, welcome into the Sports Renegades here on SportstownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky. We're going to start off the show today talking about the Cubs, previewing the playoffs coming up, and talking about maybe Joe Maddon's managing and how he's approached the end of the season, and he's gone under some criticism by his players last night.
Yeah, that was very interesting. There was an article that I read on CSNChicago.com, which is probably where you saw it too, where Jake Arrieta was not too happy about this, spring training direction that the Cubs are going these last few games. And Miguel Montero also, he didn't like it. He didn't like being pulled early from the game, being replaced by Wilson Contreras.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, there's no because if the players sense that these games don't matter, they're not going to be ready by the time the playoffs come around. Because if you remember last year, every game until the final day of the regular season, they were playing for something. They were either playing to get into the playoffs or they were playing to potentially host the wild card game against the Pirates. For this year, they've been playing for nothing for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so, I understand the competitive nature of the players wanting to go out and have, the best possible lineup every game and try to win every game. But I also understand, Joe Maddon's philosophy where you're trying to get the players the right amount of rest, and you sort of have to have a balance between going out and competing really hard to get a W, and you're also trying to find a balance of resting your players. So it's a tough call. I tend to side with management just because I think they know what they're doing, but I also understand the players' frustration with it. But there's only a few games left, so there's really no need to be frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, and also you don't want to risk getting an injury. As you saw, Wilson Ramos on the Nationals just tore his ACL
terrible.
on just a bang bang play.
He
jumped up to get a ball,
him.
and that's the second time he tore his ACL. And I mean, I think that's a little going a little too far, going and taking a catcher out in the 5th inning. Like, okay,
Sure.
if you want to take him out after the 8th inning, that's fine.
Sure.
Like how you're probably going to take out, might take out some Soler if he's in left field in the playoffs and put in Caesar. That's fine. So if you're taking guys out in the middle of the game, that's going a little too far. And as a pitcher, even if you don't have it, you don't want to be changing catchers in the middle of the game.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, and that's not going to happen necessarily in the postseason.
Hopefully not.
I hope not. Otherwise, that would kind of be an issue. But I mean, as far as Arrieta's performance,
not good.
Talking about last night, he was okay early, and then it just started to slide again. It felt like a late June start for him.
He hasn't pitched well against the Pirates this year, particularly since the Cubs hit that little June slide. I mean, he's been giving up when he had that game against them, I think in the middle of July. It was the second to last game before the All-Star break.
Yeah, that was not.
And I remember it was a. It wasn't a bad outing. It was like he has one inning where he just completely loses control of everything.
And unfortunately, his ERA now for the regular season ended up over 3. It was, I think, 2.86 or something going into the game, and it ended up being 3.12 maybe
305
to 305. So
still really good, except it was a tale of 2 seasons. And going back to that start I was talking about in July, he had given up a home run to Sean Rodriguez. I don't remember what inning it was, except it was the first home run the Pirates had hit off of him since 2013.
Ooh. Yeah, that's not good.
Now, it seems like right after that game, the Pirates somehow had figured him out, because last year and before that start this year, the Pirates had no answer for him. He was shutting them out every game, allowing a couple hits. I mean, he shut him out in the playoffs last year, and now it seems like they figured him out, or he just doesn't have the deception on his stuff anymore, or because his control's been a little off, he's been grooving more pitches. I know yesterday, I forgot who it was, hit an RBI single on a pitch that was about 3 inches off the plate, just stuck the bat out and poked it up the middle. That's just bad luck right there. That's just batting average on balls in play coming in to haunt you.
Right.
Except the problem is he hasn't been striking as many guys out, and as I've said multiple times, the walks are killing him.
It's those walks that are really horrible.
He did allow 7 hits yesterday, and that pushed his batting average to 195, which is now second in the MLB behind Max Scherzer, who's at 193. And one thing that was unfortunate about that is if he had kept it under 190, he would have been the second player in MLB history, or second pitcher in MLB history to have 2 consecutive seasons with a batting average against under 190.
Wow.
The only other pitcher to do that in 2 consecutive seasons was Nolan Ryan.
Really? Nolan Ryan. Well, I mean, yeah, obviously that's pretty impressive. And
I mean, granted, a 195 batting average against is still very good. And in that department, the Cubs have, I believe, 4 of the top 6 because Lackey's in there, Lester's in there, Hendricks is in there at 206. I'm going to pull that up right now. I mean, the starting pitching has been pretty good.
Oh yeah, I think overall when you look at it, the toughest competition that the Cubs will face in the National League playoffs. Until they get to the World Series, if they do, is the Giants, and they might not even make a wild card spot. They have a 1-game lead over St. Louis, and their top 2 is pretty good.
I mean,
but after that, I mean,
3.
It's just like the Cubs staff this year has just outperformed every other team in the MLB, pretty much.
Right, and batting average against Arrieta is actually second at 194. So he'll finish second unless Scherzer pitches again this year, and his goes up a little. Hendricks is 4th at 204. Lester is 6th at 208. 208. Lackey is 9th at 218.
Wow. Yeah, see, I would have think Lackey's would have been just a little higher, but he has pitched really well this year. I think he said, after his last start or whatever, he said that was that overall this has been one of his best years. And I guess when you look at the numbers, that is kind of true. He had... he finished with an ERA, in the low 3s, I think Lackey did. 3.3 something, maybe a little higher. But
335.
Yeah, 335. I mean, that's not bad, especially for your 4th starter.
23rd
so there you
in
go.
The MLB. So they have 4 in the top 30 or top 23 because Lackey's at 335. You have Arrieta at 310 his went up to, not 305. Then you have the top 2. Hendricks is 199, Lester's 228. And I think that brings up the question right now, since the season's almost over, what's the playoff rotation looking like?
Yeah, well, I think it's
pretty certain Lester's going in Game 1.
Lester and Hendricks at home, and then Arrieta on the road. Hopefully you can close it out there if you win your first 2 home games at Wrigley.
That will be difficult if it's against the Giants when you're facing Bumgarner in Game 3.
Yeah, if you're if you're facing the Giants, that'll be tough. I think St. Louis, the Cubs will be able to beat St. Louis, especially at home where they've played so well against the Cardinals this year, and also the Mets they should be able to beat with their starting pitching all hurt. Steven Matz got shut down for the rest of the season.
DeGrom's out. Wheeler never pitched this year. Harvey's done.
Yeah,
I mean
you got Bartolo, Colon, and Syndergaard,
and Seth Lugo, who's been pretty good. Except, I mean, like that's not the same team. And then throwing Neil Walker's also out for the season.
Right, and they don't have Daniel Murphy to face just yet in that round. In the next round,
Murphy though has been out, I believe, for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I haven't been paying attention to it, but he might have hurt his MVP chances if he ever had a chance for him, which a lot of people were still trying to give it to him, but it's got to be Chris Bryant.
I mean, and right now, I mean, the Nationals are a little banged up. Strasburg their GM said, Mike Rizzo said Strasburg might be ready for the NLCS. He won't be pitching in the NLDS. Ramos is out for the season. Harper's been nursing an injured thumb. Murphy's out right now.
Harper hasn't been doing anything for like a couple months, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, he does have 94 RBIs this year.
Same as Addison Russell, which is pretty impressive. Addison Russell's batting 3rd tonight.
Kind of funny thing about that is they both got 240s batting average, 20-plus home runs, and 94 RBIs.
There you go. So I guess you can make the comparison that Addison Russell is a comparable player to Bryce Harper. Obviously, you'd probably rather have Harper, but in a couple years, that might change. Addison Russell truly is, him and Corey Seager are the future shortstops, MVP shortstops of the National League, especially.
Right, and the thing with Harper is like, which player is he? Is he the player he was last year when he hit 330 with 44 home runs? Or is he kind of a guy that'll maybe hit 250, 260 with 25 home runs this year? Or is he maybe a guy in the middle? I think we would find that out next season.
I would think somewhere in the middle, but time will tell on that. That's for sure. All right. While we got a little time, let's talk about sort of how the postseason roster will be configured. We'll start with the position players, as there's a couple people on the bubble, including Tommy LaStella, Chris Coughlin, Matt Caesar, I should say, is pretty much a lock at this point, I would think. You also have Soler.
I think Soler is a shoo-in with his performance last year, and he's been hitting the ball very well since he's come back from his injury.
I would think so. I guess it depends how his side is.
Right. I'm pretty certain LaStella will make it. If it comes down to him or Coughlin, I'm pretty sure they'd give LaStella the nod.
I would think so.
His left-handed bat, he hits for a higher average. I mean, they have about the same on-base percentage, except late in the games, you want a guy pinch hitting that can hit fastballs, and that's LaStella's specialty, is hitting fastballs, and late in games he'll be facing hard throwers.
Right, and we're pretty sure that they're going to have three catchers on the roster: Contreras, Montero, and David Ross. We know David Ross is going to make it.
Right, I think Montero might have played his way on with his performance the past couple weeks. He said he's been looking at more film and he's been able to hit the ball better, which is good, because there was a time when it looked like when they were having Contreras catching Arrieta, where it looked like they were trying to see if they could maybe leave Montero off in favor of Contreras, except he might have played his way on.
Right, and when you're in the playoffs, I mean, while Contreras, is a pretty good catcher, as far as pitch framing is concerned and holding on to the ball back there and not getting, fast.
He has a good arm.
These pass balls and stuff. I think you'd rather have Montero in those type of situations, like when Arrieta's pitching. But I think, since Hendricks and Contreras have gotten a lot of work together, I would think when Hendricks pitches, Contreras would be starting behind the plate.
Could be. So I think we need to make our prediction for the bench. We've got LaStella on there, Caesar's on there, and this is just assuming like the everyday lineup. In the infield, you have Bryant, Russell, Zobrist, Rizzo. We'll go with Montero.
Or Zobrist in the outfield and Baez at second,
that's another good call. So,
which is probably which I think is what I think they're going to do more often than not in the playoffs.
Right, or they could have Baez at third and Bryant in left.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, just for this configuration right here, we'll just go the main infield, Bryant, Russell, Zobrist, Rizzo, and we'll throw Montero catching right now. And the outfield, Soler, Fowler, and Hayward. Then, obviously, as you said, Baez will be on the team. Caesar's a lock. So that's two bench players. You'll have Ross. He'll be catching Lester. That's 3. Contreras will probably make it. That's 4. And traditionally, they probably have 5 bench players. I mean, for this, they might go 14 position players to 11 pitchers. So then let's see. We said Baez, LaStella, Caesar, Contreras,
Soler,
and Ross. So then there's 5 right there, and then Chris Coughlin's a guy that's on the bubble of getting in.
Almora is not going to make it just because he hasn't had enough time, probably.
I don't know. I think that he's in line to potentially get in because he could be a defensive replacement late in the game.
Well, if he's in, then LaStella is out, in my opinion.
All right, and again, that depends on how many position players they're going to carry, because I'm sure there's guys that are still playing for their jobs. And Theo Epstein was just given $50 million to try to figure this out.
Right.
Because he's trying to figure out which of the really good players is going to be the unfortunate guy that doesn't make it. Yeah,
it's going to be a tough call, but I'm sure whatever decision they end up making, I mean, it's not going to be like heartbreaking to us. It's not going to be a big deal except to the person that doesn't get to make it.
The only surprise that it would probably be Soler, and that's that they would deem him not healthy enough.
Right. Okay, real quick, we'll talk about the other side of things. What bullpen pitchers are not going to make it?
Let's see. Rondon, Strop, and Chapman are all locks. That's 3 right there. And
then you
ideally in the playoffs, those are the only 3 guys you'll need.
True. Travis Wood, Justin Grimm, those 2 are locks.
Montgomery is a lock.
Montgomery's a lock.
Wood's a lock, so that's 5.
And Grimm.
You think Grimm's a lock?
I think he is because of his experience.
Right. I mean, because he was good in the postseason last year.
Yeah. He struck out the side in that very important game 4
against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Cahill has been good this year. He might be one of those guys on the bubble of making it.
You kind of have Carl Edwards, Joe Smith, and Cahill on.
And the
bubble.
thing is, you want to keep all three of them.
Yeah, Smith hasn't gotten a lot of opportunity.
He's been really good though since he came back from his hamstring injury.
Right. I would think a guy like Edwards might not make it just because he's younger. He has